By 1989, the Ninja Turtles had exploded. The success of the animated series catapulted these heroes in a half shell to fame and popularity I doubt the creators could have envisioned back when Kevin Eastman was sketching his frustrations away. The Turtles were selling everything from cereal to crackers and even being on drug PSA specials. Watch the Nostalgia Critics take on that. And they were appearing in new forms of media with each passing day. Outside of the cartoon show and the comics, the two most well-known entities of the Turtles were likely the video game from Konami, released under the Ultra Games title, and the movie that was in development by New Line Cinema for a March 1990 release. While I don't plan on reviewing the game or the movies, I will briefly touch on them. The game was my first indoctrination to the Turtles. It's definitely based very loosely on the cartoon, and it remains a prime example of how tough video games of the time could be. It's one of the few 8-bit NES games that I played but never finished without help from the Game Genie enhancer. Don't judge me! The movies, meanwhile, were where most fans were introduced for the first time to the original story of the Turtles and Splinter. That being that Splinter was a rat from the beginning, a pet of Hamato Yoshi, who was murdered by Oroku Saki. I had known of this story in advance, having thumbed through some of the original comics, but yeah, it definitely confused many who were used to the cartoon story. It was just what we were used to. And whatever you may think of that, or the film's admittedly thin plot, those costumes, designed by the late great Jim Henson, are freaking awesome. Anyway, back to the animated series. By this time, the Turtles were so popular that the producers decided that once a week wasn't enough to contain them, so the series was given a Monday through Friday afternoon time slot in syndication for its third season. This season begins with Beneath These Streets. And if you always thought the Splinter of this series was just a kindly old pacifist rat man, oh boy, check out how displeased he is to see that the Turtles have gotten lazy in Shredder's absence.
We thought we deserved a little vacation.
Hey, Sacagawea! You are losing your fighting edge, my turtles. Were it Shredder who attacked you, he would not be so lenient. Without positive proof, it would be unwise to assume that Shredder and Krang have been vanquished.
Never underestimate the old guy in any animated series. Of course, Splinter is right in that Shredder and Krang are alive and well, trapped at the Earth's core, which is apparently one giant cavern with lava pools rather than compact layers of magma. Don't remember hearing that in geology class. Anyway, the Technodrome is now very low on power because apparently Krang used the same fuel cells that Lord Zed did for Serpentera. He can't return the moving fort to the surface, but has developed a way that Shredder and his minions can travel there using pneumatic transport modules.
It won't be a pleasant journey, but
Nothing could be more unpleasant than being stuck here with you.
This first episode involves Shredder stealing a medical laser they need to heal their protein computer. Yeah, still not sure exactly how that works. And then using it in reverse to severely hurt Splinter. Why would those scientists even build a reverse function on that thing? And it forces the Turtles to finally get back into action and recover the laser to heal their sensei.
Turtles. April. What has happened?
I hope you learned a lesson from this.
Oh, we did, April. One can never relax in the battle against evil.
Shredder, you bungled idiot! I should have known better than to listen to you. And another thing,
Really, you two should look into couples therapy.
stop!
Sometimes I don't know who I detest more, the turtles or you.
is definitely the longest season with 47 episodes, and the supposed official order is a little confusing. I always suspected the second episode of this season was the old switcheroo, where Splinter and Shredder get their minds switched, because that appeared to be the first one where the Turtles discover the transport modules. But no, all official lists I can find put that at episode 6, with the episode Turtles on Trial as the second one. In addition to introducing Krang's Bubble Walker for the first time, it's in that episode that April gives the Turtles face masks to aid in their disguises. This was clearly a response to the numerous criticisms about the Turtles still looking like turtles in disguise, but yeah, it only made them look even creepier, which is likely why we didn't see them in every episode and they were gone by next season. It's also made clear here that the humans still have it in for the Turtles, driven more by a shock talk show host who tells them he'll still badmouth them even after they save his life because it gets him ratings. See, this is why I boycott the likes of Springer and Geraldo. At any rate, clearly we don't have time to detail every episode for this season, but I can definitely take time now to exposit more on the production. The animation on the show was frequently known for being rather clumsy. As the Nostalgia Critic mentioned, voices at times didn't always match the characters on screen that they were supposed to, and there were numerous other gaffes that you could point out. But in this season, I will say that some things started being more consistent, particularly with the venues. The layout for locations like the Turtles' Lair and the Technodrome didn't seem to have a set structure up to this point, especially in Season 2. Here, though, rooms in the Turtles' lair, like the den, the kitchen, and Don's laboratory, became set in the design drawn out by the artists. The same can be said for the Technodrome, where most of the scenes there took place in Krang's command chamber with the dimensional portal. The Technodrome's location at the Earth's core seems to keep changing, but that can actually make sense when you remember that Krang was slowly moving it around whenever he could. Also, let's get into more detail about the music for this series. As I said last time, Chuck Lorre, who would go on to create the likes of Dharma and Greg and 2.5 Men, was the main composer of the soundtrack for this series. And whatever you may think of his later productions, this soundtrack was awesome. There were a number of music pieces that became synonymous with certain settings. I touched on the climax music last time, but there were other numbers like Shredder's theme.
You suppose old Tin Teeth and his trogs are in here?
Does that answer your question? Blast them!
Why does it throw times together always wind up like this?
The Channel 6 news instrumental.
This is Vern Thompson with the news. In the tradition of responsible reporting, that is the hallmark of Channel 6 News. Here is tonight's top story. Elvis clones from Mars invade Earth!
Irma's theme.
Oh, men are such beasts! Is it Elliot? That new fella you just met? Don't ever mention his name again! His idea of a double date was showing up with another girlfriend!
But above all others was the standard Turtles battle music. Essentially the instrumental of the theme song. This music told you that things were about to get busy.
Let's get 'em! Turtle power!
And yes, because this was an early 90s cartoon, we got a lot of fourth wall jokes in this thing.
If you can place this oscillator on its neck, it will override the robot's programming so we can control it.
This is something you just happen to have lying around, right?
We've got to keep the story moving.
We've got to go after it!
Like, how come?
Because if we didn't, it wouldn't be much of an episode.
Only mutants are immune to the mesmerizer's beam. Humans like myself can't be near it when they set it off.
You don't have to explain it to me. I invented it, remember?
I wasn't explaining it to you. I was explaining it to them.
See, that's one big problem I've got on this show. I can't make fourth wall jokes when my entire bit is talking to my audience. And yeah, some of the jokes could be a bit dated.
While those turtles are searching abandoned warehouses and roach-infested tenements, I'll be luxuriating here.
And just how are you paying for all this?
I borrowed your Alien Express card. I never leave the Technodrome without it.
Let's face it, this isn't the show to go to for education. Of course, there's the issue of the Technodrome's location. The exact depth that the fort is trapped at varied with each episode, and usually it's still nowhere deep enough to get past the crust, let alone all the way to the core.
Krang, are you there?
Where else would I be? Out night clubbing? I'm 10 miles beneath the surface of the earth.
I guess we'll just have to watch TV instead. Oh boy, it's the Swipes, my favorite.
Pretty good reception for being 5 miles underground.
And then there was the issue of how too often they referred to the turtles as amphibians, which ended up making this joke a bit hypocritical.
Get those amphibians!
It so happens we're reptiles!
Anyway, back to the episodes. The stock plot for most of them was Shredder and Krang searching for a fuel source that will restore the Technodrome's power. It seems Krang's giant mobile unit can run on every newfangled rare crystal element to come out of the writers' heads, but won't run on diesel or unleaded. I'm not kidding. There was an episode where they looked to steal an oil tanker, but admitted the crude oil was useless unless they used a formula that would completely change its chemical content to liquid hydrogen. However, not all the episodes were exclusively about fighting Shredder and Krang. New villains were introduced in this third season, including perhaps their number 2 arch-nemesis, the Rat King, another sewer dweller who can command all rats to assemble his own rodent army thanks to a mind control flute that, yes, even Splinter is susceptible to. Boy, where are Baxter's Mousers when you need them? Speaking of which, it's revealed that Baxter wasn't completely zapped out of existence and is finally able to re-enter our dimension, where once again Shredder convinces the Fly to join him, even though he's been responsible for all of Baxter's misfortunes. Geez, just because you're a scientific genius doesn't mean you're a smart guy.
Soon the turtles will be my prisoners, and then I don't know what I'll do, but I know they'll hate it. Okay, that's the final insult. You two will be sorry you ever started up with Baxter Stockman.
I've a feeling we haven't seen the last of that brilliant but bothersome half-man, half-insect.
Another new villain introduced was the mutant alligator Leatherhead, who came from the same swamp as the punk frogs. Eventually, Leatherhead made his way to the city and the sewers, where he ran into the Rat King, building up this villain versus villain confrontation.
You be the Rat Fink now!
I'll teach you to defy me.
No need to, Leatherhead, he already know how! Now you be Southern Fried Ratatouille, Mr. King! Now, you will be my willing subject, Mr. Gator! Jambalaya! I don't never want to see another turtle so long as I live! This gator staying put in his swamp hole.
Another new bad guy was the mobster Don Turtelli, who first appeared in the episode Burns' Blues, and then must have had liposurgery before his next appearance. The Turtles did get some new allies as well, like the robotic turtle Metalhead, but for a series based around a toy line, there were actually a few more other characters that didn't get action figures. Okay, April's Aunt Aggie I can understand, but there was also the future robot Big Mac and the Polarisoid alien with a camera that actually captured objects and people onto the videotape. And some characters had to be shoehorned in to justify their toys, specifically Ace Duck. His action figure claimed him to be a pilot mutated with a duck who was the Turtles' hired blimp pilot, but in the show, he only makes a very brief appearance as their own TV character?
Watching something.
Yeah, an Ace Duck Film Festival.
But if there was one character I'm glad didn't get a toy, it was,
I am Zack, Master Ninja Turtle, the scourge of evildoers!
I really didn't get this kid. All he does is wear a goofy costume and whine about how he wants to be a turtle and usually acting like a fool. Geez, guys, could you poke fun at us fanboys even more blatantly?
I got my own Junior Crime Fighter kit and my own turtle disguise.
I mean, it's not like I pretended to be an ally of the Turtles or anything as a kid. And if you're watching this, sis, I don't want any comments from you! On a more positive note, there was Usagi Yojimbo, a samurai rabbit man from another dimension who came to Earth through Donatello's own less than effective dimensional portal, which, yes, will be a plot device in other episodes. And then there's everyone's favorite, the one supporting character that's been there from the first comics, Casey Jones. And oh boy, is this guy every level of nuttier than a truckload of Snickers bars.
You're not criminals. You're Martian invaders. The Martians are coming. The Martians are coming. When do we get to break something?
I like this boy's attitude.
And just for the record, no, we never see his face in this series. And no, he and April don't end up dating. Where would you get that idea? And then there was the female ninja Lotus Blossom, who started as a foe, but then turned on Krang because she and Leonardo fell for one another?
Hey! She's cunning. She's treacherous. She's wonderful.
Actually, this series seemed to be quite liberal in the idea of interspecies dating. I mean, in the episode April Fool, the Turtles go gaga about seeing April in a dress for the first time. Then there was the one where Krang's potion makes them all fall for Irma, and Rocksteady for April, not to mention the whole Michelangelo Calla thing. You know, I'm gonna take a break for a bit while you people can imagine what type of kids would be produced from unions like that. Because I'm evil that way. A lot of the more interesting stories came in the later episodes. At least that's the case if the DVDs actually got the order right, which I still dispute, but whatever. The Gang's All Here was about Michelangelo being turned into a human, so we could at least get a glimpse of what human versions of the Turtles would be, even if the story was a bit biased against humans.
As humans, you would lose your ninja skills and powers. The city would be at the mercy of Shredder and Krang.
Shredderville was a standard It's a Wonderful Life story where the Turtles discover what the world would be like if they never existed. Sure enough, Shredder rules the world and now wears a suit but won't give up the helmet because, hey, who would give up that look?
You think being Emperor of the World is easy? Oh, it's giving me an ulcer.
Oh, great. We want to get back to our world where you don't rule.
A world where I don't rule? Oh, please take me with you, please.
The penultimate episode before the finale was Bye Bye Fly, where Baxter discovers a lost spaceship and uses it to lure Shredder and the Turtles into a trap to use a Mutazoo ray on them.
Don't believe it! I'm a fly!
Baxter then tries to use the ship to travel to Dimension X, but things go wrong and he ends up in limbo where he gets trapped by a giant spider? Well, I guess he's really finished now. The season concludes with a 3-part set that started with the big ripoff. Shredder discovers yet another rare crystal that could power the Technodrome, but Krang warns that like so many others they've tried to take, it's highly unstable, which means it will likely explode under the high subterranean pressure. Not sure if that's how it exactly works or not, but Shredder has a solution.
But I want the Turtles to think we're stealing the crystal while we get the energy to repower the Technodrome elsewhere.
Huh, that's actually not a bad idea. Fans of the later installments have ridiculed this Shredder for being cartoonish and a bit of a whiner, but whenever he took the time to focus, he could actually come up with some clever plans. And guess what? The plan works! As the Turtles have to save April from a sealed vault, Bebop and Rocksteady succeed in stealing fuel cells from a missile plant that restore the Technodrome to full power, leading us to the big break-in. As the Technodrome makes its way back to the surface, Krang sends out a device to eliminate any military outposts that would be a threat to them by shrinking them. 90s cartoons, people! The Turtles turn the tables on their foes and send a miniaturized Technodrome back below the surface, but of course Krang can reverse the process of his own inventions, which leads to the conclusion, the big blowout. The Technodrome has broken out for good and is rampaging across the country, but even though it's fully energized, Krang needs more power!
More power, more!
To complete his master plan, so he swipes a superpower antenna that's kept near Mount Rushmore. Wait, Mount Rushmore? In South Dakota? Are you kidding me? Okay, I can kinda get the Technodrome traveling 1,700 miles, but the Turtles keeping up with him all the way in the Turtle Van with no gas stops on the way? What kind of fuel tank did Donatello install in that thing? Once he has the antenna, Krang heads all the way back to New York to make a transmitter out of the World Trade Center building. I'm gonna forego the standard 9/11 depression joke here and instead ask one question. Why would Krang need to go all the way back to New York from South Dakota to do this? Why couldn't he have stopped in Chicago and used the Sears Tower? It's even taller! Seriously, Krang, you need to learn to be more efficient in your operation. Krang's plan is to make a dimensional portal large enough to pull the entire planet Earth into Dimension X. How can the Turtles stop them? Well, remember what I said earlier about the Shredder being good when he was focused? Well, this is what happens when he loses focus.
In 5 more minutes, this planet will be entering Dimension X. My space fleet can blast this entire city to atoms.
I must destroy them! They must pay for humiliating me!
Saki, I think you're getting a little bit obsessed.
Now!
No!
What's happening?
We're being carried off by a missile!
Shredder, what have you done?
It's coming through! Up on fire!
Stop, you fool! It's us! Hold on fire!
So the Technodrome appears to be trashed for good, and with Shredder and Krang having been defeated in front of the entire populace, it looks like the Turtles have finally won over the support of the people. Let's hope they never lose that support for no damn good reason or anything. The third season of the original Ninja Turtles cartoon took advantage of its extended format to expand its universe with new characters and stories, expanding it past the boundaries of a toy line. Yes, selling action figures was a big part of the series, but clearly the writers were allowed the freedom beyond merchandising, given the multiple elements that weren't included in the toy line. Entertaining the audience was priority number one, and for a great deal of the young viewers, they succeeded big time. And that allowed these Heroes in a Half Shell to take their next step into establishing their global entertainment empire. Next time, we'll discover once again that Shredder and Krang were not finished for good, as this series would get its promotion to the big leagues.